everyone. Welcome to Entertainment Weekly's What to Watch, the show where EW staff help you solve your viewing dilemmas. I'm your host, Gerrad Hall, and joining me on this merry-go-round we call life, our TV critic Kristen Baldwin, associate editor Derek Lawrence, and digital news writer Marcus Jones. Hello to all of you. So great to see you. How are you doing?
Nice to see you.
All right, you guys, this week Sacha Baron Cohen dresses up in a wig and speaks with a strong accent in a project that illustrates some of the political issues affecting our country in an election year. And no, I'm not talking about Borat 2. That's next week. I'm talking about The Trial of the Chicago 7, the new film directed by Aaron Sorkin about the fallout of the 1968 Democratic National Convention protest. Now, this project was originally developed to be released prior to the 2008 election, so it's had a long walk and talk to finally make it to the screen. Derek, I know we have used the term timely a lot this year, but this movie really does seem tailor-made for these times.
Yeah, the last time I was on this show, I kind of railed against, our over-reliance on the word timely of late. But I mean, unfortunately, it's been true on a lot of projects we've discussed. But yeah, Trial of Chicago 7 does feel like built for this moment. I interviewed Aaron Sorkin, and he said, a question he's been asked a lot is like, did the script change at all to mirror the times that we're living in right now? And he's like, it didn't. Like, the times changed to mirror his script. Like, he's like, when we started shooting, like, I already thought this was relevant, and we didn't need it to get more relevant, but then it did. So yeah, this is something that lucked into, if we want to say that. I mean, we're not really very lucky right now, but this movie feels like it's coming out at the perfect time.
All right, this cast is huge. It's a great ensemble. Of course, Sacha Baron Cohen, Eddie Redmayne, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Jeremy Strong. Who are some of the standouts?
I mean, everyone's incredible in this, but for me, probably the big two people I walked away thinking about was Sacha and Yahya. The movie's called The Trial of Chicago 7. Technically, he's the 8th person in that mix. I won't spoil actual history and tell you kind of what happened there and why it only ends up being 7 in the title. But then Sacha, like, we're so used to, we talked about Borat already. He just had his Showtime show. And I feel like, I don't know, some of us are kind of over that bit, probably more than some of us. So it was nice to actually get him to actually see him act. And, you can kind of leave some of that baggage. I mean, it's hard to fully erase all of that baggage that he has because, like, no matter what, he's Sacha Baron Cohen and you, like, see all those characters in him. Yeah. But yeah, him and Jeremy Strong are kind of like a tag team here, and they bring a lot of the comedy, which is, like, much needed in a film like this when you're sitting in a courtroom, with all these serious things going on. So it was nice to have them kind of bounce off each other. So, I mean, everyone delivers. It's such an incredible cast, like, all through the lines. You didn't even mention, like, Michael Keaton, Frank Langella. Yeah. It's just a stacked group, and kind of everyone delivers.
All right, thanks, Derek. Moving right along, also marching to Netflix this week is Grand Army, the 10-episode adaptation that's loosely based on Katie Cappiello's 2013 stage production, Slut the Play. The gritty teen drama follows several students at Brooklyn's Grand Army High School as they tackle issues of race, class, and sexuality. Marcus, we said goodbye to 13 Reasons Why this year. Do we think this show, though, is going to fill that gap of Netflix teen content in a much more, hopefully, realistic way?
Yeah, well, certainly more realistic than 13 Reasons Why. There are not really any tapes in this project, though there are some sort of, like, foreshadowing and a lot of, like, typing and deleting that you see at the beginning of episodes. It's just a really interesting look specifically at New York itself, and it's a wide look because these students come from all over the city to go to this school.
Mm-hmm. There are certainly, in terms of the diversity and what all these teens are facing, there are even slight things that remind me of Euphoria, though it doesn't quite go to the same territory as Euphoria. But do you think there's still some potential there for the same, audience crossover?
Yeah, so I think the difference is that Euphoria is just so stylized and this is a little more natural. But the great thing about it is that you are sort of, again, seeing that no holds barred looked at teen life. Like, this is another show that, we have to be honest, because it's realistic, like, shows a teen going on, like, Pornhub and stuff like that, like, actually showing that with the internet, there's so much more you have to deal with in terms of social media and even like the education part of it, is what they have to deal with, like preparing for SATs and sort of zero tolerance policies and things like that.
There was a teaser released recently, and a former writer, that day it was released, Ming Pfeiffer, on Twitter revealed that she and 2 other writers of color had quit because the showrunner was racist behind the scenes, and also alleged that Netflix was aware of the behavior. Capello and Netflix have not really responded, but do we think the I'm going to say poor way in which this was handled is going to impact the show and what audiences and critics think of it?
Right. So far we've only heard from Ming via Twitter. In like the allegations that she made do kind of color or bring context to the show. I know a lot of the criticism of the show is sort of the dialogue and some ham-fisted ideas that end up in there. And don't quite work. I think, again, the highlight of the show really is the acting. And I think right now, regardless of what's to come out about this series, the thing that should be commended is the 5 young actors who lead it and the great performance that they do and sort of what they do with the words that they've been given.
All right, thanks, Marcus. You guys, we have to take a quick break, but after that short journey, Kristen is leading the ceremony to discuss all things Bachelorette. We'll be right back. Welcome back to What to Watch. The Bachelorette returned to ABC this week, making it safe to enjoy roses again. Unless, of course, they come from the White House Rose Garden. But they started filming the season in Palm Springs, California in July, in the midst of it all, and there was a lot of news coming out of Bachelor Nation. Bachelors were recast, a Matt James announcement. This season's Bachelorette was replaced by Tayshia Adams, not to mention the on-screen drama. Whew, I'm winded already. Kristen this season promises a lot of ups and downs, twists and turns, and of course, a whole lot of drama. So I have to ask, does this season get your rose?
Gerrad. Every season gets my rose. I have a love-hate sort of abusive relationship with this show. I will never quit it, even if I want to. Look, yes, I've seen the first episode, obviously, and it's very dramatic. They kind of telegraph from the beginning that everything we already know, which by the way has never been confirmed by ABC, but right. The fact that Claire falls for one of her guys. Clearly it's Dale, because he walks out of the limo and she says, "I feel like I just met my husband."
It's a pretty grand statement.
Yeah, and then she decides to end her journey, and so that means that they bring in a new Bachelorette, a nice young lady named Tayshia, who we know from previous seasons. None of this has been confirmed, but they kind of hint at that in the first episode. Meanwhile, beyond that, what's interesting about the first episode and what we saw is that, normally what happens in the first episode is you go to all the different hometowns of the guys who are there, and you see them in their gyms working out, and you see them with their grandma making dinner, and it's like, I want a marriage like grandma and grandpa, whatever. This time they were all holed up in their hotel rooms at La Quinta and had to just sit in the hotel room for 14 days and get regular COVID tests until they were declared disease-free, all diseases. And everybody who worked on the production stayed there. It was it was a bubble,
Yeah, they rented out the entire resort, right?
Yeah. And so they really did, I think a good job, keeping it safe. And I think it's a little easier with reality TV than it is maybe for scripted.
Really, when we dive more into this unconfirmed possibility, which is reality, that Tayshia Adams is replacing Claire at some point during the season. I mean, how do you even... was your mind kind of blown that day when those reports started coming out? How can this even happen? What do they do?
Well, I think I think they were probably turning cartwheels in the control room, because think about it. Normally, this show travels around the world, and they do these insane group dates, and they have celebrity cameos, and they have, awkward private concerts with, singers you've barely heard of, whatever.
Yeah.
This time, they were stuck in a Palm Springs resort, beautiful, but they couldn't go anywhere. The dates are probably going to be like, we're going to have dinner over here. Now we're going to go have dinner over here.
Yeah.
The fact that Claire decided she was in love with this dude and was like, peace out, I'm done. That's actually the best thing that could have happened to them, because now they have something, exciting, and it's great that it's Tayshia. She'll be the second Black Bachelorette, and it makes total sense that they did it. I think it's a brilliant, evil, genius move, just like everything to do with this show. And she'll step in, and the guys will be like, well, I'm still on TV, so I guess I'll try to date her now, because that's really what they're there for.
Thanks so much, Kristen, and to Derek and Marcus as well. That is our show for today. We will see you next week on What to Watch.